Welcome to Four Brothers Farm. Right off the bat, I want to give you a disclaimer. We are not full-time farmers. We're full-time workers who homestead on the side. From raising pigs and chickens to creating our own household products, we're planning out how to feed our family for the next year. If you are someone who's looking to live your life more intentionally without quitting your day job, you're going to want to stick around for this video. Figuring out how to reduce stress and friction on your homestead means trying new things to eliminate past issues. In our case, we tried a mobile chicken tractor solution for our egg layers. We did this for a couple months and realized their egg production decreased significantly without a larger space to range. Chickens love bugs and grass, and we came to the conclusion they needed more room. I ordered more electric netting from Premier One and made sure to get the product designed for chickens. We tried this in the past with the standard electric netting, which has much larger gaps between the electrified strands, and the chickens escaped every time. With this poultry netting, there's less room for escape, and we even clipped wing feathers to prevent them flying over. Clipping wings is harmless when you only trim primary feathers, and there is absolutely zero pain or harm to the birds. So all in all, this netting provides a much larger space for them. They have that coop back there that they can go in at night and they can lay their eggs in there, and I think they feel a lot safer and more secure with that, so we should see an increase in production. It's also one less thing that we have to think about because we don't have to move this around as often as we would a chicken tractor. So when it comes to increasing efficiency and reducing stress on the farm, this is awesome. We are headed out to the freezer right now to grab some meat for the next few days. We don't have any more in the house, so some lamb chops. How many we need?
Well, family of 6.
I think that'll do it. And then Presley, you want to grab a chicken? Yep. There we go. Get a big one. And then that should get us through the weekend, right? And just set it on that counter. So today we are rendering pork fat into lard. I have about 10 pounds of pork fat right here, and rendering is just cooking it down for a really long time until all of the liquids and the actual tallow extracts from the fat itself. And then we use that to cook as a really healthy replacement for vegetable oil or olive oil and stuff like that. Now, something that's really important here is just getting it cut into as small of pieces as possible. I could just throw all this in the Instapot and it would probably render down eventually. But if you cut it down really small, then you have smaller pieces with a lot more surface area. Really helps to expedite the process. So I am using the slow cook setting on my Instapot today. There's a ton of instructions online for rendering lard in a slow cooker. Something to keep in mind if you're doing this in an Instapot on the slow cook setting. In a standard slow cooker, you would want to do this on low setting, but the low setting on an Instapot under the slow cook mode is actually way lower than what the low setting is on a slow cooker. So you want to make sure to set this to normal instead of low. I'll show you what I mean here. You got your slow cook setting right there. And then if I click on that, see, I have it on normal now and that's where it needs to be. But if you were to make the mistake of going to low, that's really just a food warming setting and it's not going to render anything down or slow cook it at all. So just make sure you don't put it on low and you put it on normal. Another part of making our lifestyle work is taking small steps to eliminate our dependence on the commercial food supply. By broadening our skill sets, we're able to slowly step away from buying staple foods at the store, which saves us both time and money. It also helps us to be healthy and whole people working as a family to build our immunity and our confidence. We made one of our chickens last night and we don't want anything to go to waste, so we put the carcass again in the Instapot and cooked that down for overnight. And now we've got a nice broth to make our next one with or make soup or whatever we want. You might want to hold it, yeah.
Yeah.
Here, no. Another thing that's really easy to get behind on is firewood. Now, firewood is our primary source of heat in the winter, so today we're making sure we stay caught up. I would venture to say 90% of kids in America have never chopped wood to heat their home.
I think this is a huge tragedy. There's something so unnatural about removing the means to an end. If we grow accustomed to flipping the furnace switch and expecting heat to come out the other end, we become fully disconnected from nature and humanity. We've put a lot of emphasis on making sure our kids don't take modern comfort for granted. They've chopped wood and processed meat for our family, and in turn learned what it truly means to provide.
You probably saw earlier I brought some lamb chops in, and part of preparing for our weeks, part of reducing the amount of stress and things we have to think about every night is having a set meal plan where we know what meals we're going to make, we know how we're going to cook the meat. I wanted to show you one of my favorite ways to cook up these lamb chops, and it's super simple, super basic, so if you've never experimented with lamb before, and even if you're not much of a chef, then this is still something super realistic to be able to try out. So I have 2 lamb chops right here, and you can tell the difference between home-raised and store-bought lamb chops because this color is so much darker with the lambs that we raise ourselves. If you were to buy that at the store, it would be a really kind of pale, off pink color. And we want dark, dark meat. So the first thing I'm going to do here is season it pretty liberally with salt and pepper. A lot of times people will like kind of under seasoned steak and lamb chops and pork chops, and you have to think that this is about 1 inch thick, and if you're taking a bite of this, the only seasoning you're going to taste is on that outer edge, which is such a small portion of the bite that you take. I like to season it pretty heavily on the outside to make kind of a seasoning crust, and then that's going to transfer through to everything in the middle. Now what this is going to end up being is a really delicious lamb chop that's cooked to about medium, and I'm going to make a creamy garlic sauce for it, which is just going to be using whole milk. We just got these pans, and Brianna found them on Amazon, but they are totally non-toxic and they are ceramic. I'll actually put a link to those in the description in case you want to find something similar. But we did a lot of research. These were some of the best ones we found as far as ratings go, and they don't have any of the toxic stuff that you're gonna find with Teflon. Now the trick to these lamb chops is I'm only gonna do them about 3 or 4 minutes on each side because I'm gonna cook them in the sauce after, and that's gonna continue the cooking process. I don't wanna overcook them right now when I'm frying them. Now I am also boiling some water in another pan right here, and I'm doing that so that I can cook these peas. So we got these peas from a local farmer, and they are so good. All we did was just like blanched them or kind of boiled them for a little bit, and then we put them in these freezer bags and threw them in the freezer. But we've been eating these as often as we can. Next year I want to get a whole lot more of them. Look at that. It's looking good. Throw some of that on top so they're not drying out. Heck yeah. So we do have to make our sauce now, and like I said, I don't want to overcook the lamb chops. So I'm going to take these off of the pan, put these right here, and then we can make our sauce. I'm going to turn the heat down to about medium. We can saute the onion first. I'm not going to dice it up too small, but I want to get the flavor in there. So get that here. This is just going to be a part of our sauce, but I want to saute that first. In about 60 seconds, I'm going to throw in some garlic. Garlic in there. Now I'm going to add about a cup of whole milk. We're going to get it almost to a boil, but not quite. And then we're going to turn the heat down to low. Once it looks kind of like that, then we want to turn our heat down super low, and that's going to help it to thicken. Put them back into it, get a good coating all over them here. The top on, let them cook a while longer. Now that this looks all good, we're gonna turn the heat off, bring them over here. on the plate here.
Another before. God, I pray for many more simple nights like these. As morning comes with its many demands, God, I open my hands, for I need nothing more. It's all yours. It's all yours.
All right, so I actually let this stuff go overnight and it's looking really good. It needs to cool before I can put it in jars. So I've got this strainer here. I put a coffee filter inside of that to filter it down even further. I'm gonna put it into this bowl to cool, and then once it cools down, we can throw it in jars. We're left with quite a bit of fat still, so I'm actually just gonna throw that back in the Instapot and let it go for the rest of the day and see what else we can extract out of that.
Past the night descends, go to dreamy places, bless your weary head.
When someone asks how we manage to navigate the stress and constant responsibility of this lifestyle, I tell them that we don't. We don't have everything figured out. After going through the hardships and pain that we've endured, the daily grind of living life only relying on our own abilities simply reminds us of how lucky we are to have our family and to have each other at the end of every day.
It's just